quick one, much later than I normally would, but don't want to get behind, as that obviously happens very quickly. First thing today is the WarTrakk, the obviously one of the new Orc models from Armageddon, or updated model. So obviously much bigger than the original, looks really cool. And when I originally saw it, I thought the guy had a top hat. Slightly sad it's a flag, but yeah, again, very good little kit. It is similar from the looks of things to an ATV, because one of its abilities is that it can be attached to a unit of bikers. Can't remember where I saw that now, but I'm sure it'll be somewhere. But yeah, so pretty quick, 12-inch move, same as bikes. T6, same as bikes. Much more wounds with 7. Otherwise, same save, same leadership, OC3, so one more than normal bikes do have. Custom shooter has up to 4 shots, hitting on 5s. Strength 4, no AP, damage 1. Obviously, with bikes, if they, depending on wording, you might get an extra AP and be able to go to +1 if you're within 9 for AP 1 and AP 3. Then you have the rocket launcher, which is D3 + 3, which is a nice number of shots, minimum 4, which is always good, and then has a chopper. But yeah, I would imagine it's probably going to be similar sort of price to an ATV, somewhere in the 50 to 70 kind of points range. It does give suppressed, so it's -1 to hit for a unit that has been hit by its attacks. Not sure how relevant that's going to be, but it's a cheap unit with some extra wounds. Yeah, pretty good. And able to kind of wound stuff on 2s, so that's pretty good. But that's how that unit works. Useful, it can join into kind of the war bikes. Yeah, again, it looks cool. I don't think it's going to break the game in any way, shape or form, but it's another option. Grey Knights seem to have some really good options. I felt Argent Assault is the first one. This is all about paladins. +1 strength if they're +1 to wound if their strength is lower than the toughness of the target. So against anything T7 upwards, they're +1 to wound. So outside of T12 and above, which is quite rare, Land Raiders, Dominus class Knights, Grey and Clean one, Mortarion, the Demon Prince for Nurgle in Death Guard. They're going to be wounding anything in the game on 4s or better. So that's pretty strong. The only thing they wound on 4s without anything more than that is obviously T6, but T7 and above is on 4s except for T12, so that's really solid. So it does allow paladins to punch up significantly, which has been a problem for Grey Knights all this edition, is dealing with high toughness and hull spam being kind of the thing, or kind of monster spam for the latter part of this edition with Defilers, Catan, Space Marines with Repexes, which is another example of T12, has kind of made it quite difficult for this army to punch up and survive. They then have an enhancement for +1 to charge, which can be given to a Terminator character, so it allows them to rapid ingress and make an 8-inch charge, which is nice. It's a bit of a gamble still, but you know, better than a 9. And then they have the ability to make the enemy hazardous in the fight phase. So a paladin unit, enemy melee attacks have hazardous, so if you get charged by multiple units, that's pretty dangerous for the opponent, because they could be taking hazardous on a fair amount of models. So yeah, a pretty solid strat. Overall, obviously only applies to 1 unit, but yeah, solid little boost to paladins. Fires a purgation, shockingly works on purgation squads. They get to select a pinned enemy, which is their ability for the movement side of things that they have on their data sheet. They cause a battle shock at -1 which again, the potential to have 3 units, put 3 units at less movement and battle shocked, which they then have to test for in their turn to become unbattle shocked, can have pretty big impact on the game, purely from the fact that you can't do actions, can't hold objectives on units that are then low leadership. The risks are higher, you can't auto pass. So yeah, fairly solid ability for that unit to stack on top of the movement debuff. You then have Boons of Deimos, another way to help with punching up. You can boost the unit's strength to +2. So that takes a lot of things, like the Flamer equivalent to strength 7, I think, off the top of my head, and then the Psy Cannon up to strength 8 or 9, which again, a lot of breakpoints, kind of helps to get them over. So really solid upgrade to put on your purgation squads. You can take 3 times. And then we have Focused Immolation, whereby 1 ZP, they can give their attacks sustained and dev wounds, which, yeah, really good. Obviously the Flamers auto hit, so they don't get the advantage of the sustained, but it does obviously mean that on side cannons and things like that, has a very high potential. It is not also target locked, so they can shoot anything and potentially punch up significantly with the dev wounds. I'm just kind of curious as to what. So yeah, the Incinerator at strength 6 goes to strength 8, then has dev wounds. It's really solid. Silencer already has built-in sustain, so only get the dev benefit. Side Cannon is probably the best one because you can then, with the enhancement, make it strength 10. And then with psychic keywords as well, they're ignoring hit mods, so they're just hitting normally. And then sustained and dev wounds on a kind of larger squad where you can have up to 10 of them, sorry, including the including the sergeant. That's the word. Sorry, it's obviously a bit late. So you can have kind of 9 of the up to 4. So even if you're taking a larger squad, it doesn't mean that you can have extra damage weapons, but you can have ablative wounds, and even the storm bolters the rest of them have all have +2 strength. Is ranged attacks limited, so that's, can't then massively overdo that. We then have the last one, Immaterial Interdiction. You are looking at your interceptor squads. If they did not make a ingress move with Echo Jump, they get to make a surge move, so they can go into combat with D6 +1. There's no limitation, so they can charge after. They can also, if they have any assault on their weapons, you could assault, move, and then advance, and then move again. Nope, none of their weapons have assault, so unless there's an ability in a detachment that I'm not aware of, can't do that. But yeah, so they can go straight into combat, which is less likely what you want to do, because then you don't have fight first, your opponent fights before you, so might be a bit risky. But it does allow them to kind of get a bit of extra movement, and potentially charge something that was initially out of range, especially with the new way it works. But there is that risk of surging into, let's say, Bellicor, who you ended up next to, and that's a bit of a risk. Astral Overlap, up to 3 of the units can have stealth, so -1 ballistic skill because it gives them the benefit of cover. Does not stack with being in a terrain feature because it's the same thing now, because otherwise that would be horrific for a lot of armies to deal with that are either low shot volume or already hit on 5s or 4s, because then they're only ever hitting on 6s. But yeah, still really good. You can stand in the open with your 2-up save and be a little bit more durable by being -1 to hit. And then we have the strat, which again is another way of making these units punch up a bit higher. Does give a bit more quality of life to Grey Knights being able to take on hull spam and things like that that have become the core of the kind of end of 10th, Whether that translates into 11th, we don't know, because we don't know what points will be for things yet. Because I always take all of this with a pinch of salt, because you never know if these units are going to go up or down at the moment. So Blaze from Beyond for 1 CP gives the Interceptor squad that made a charge move Lance. Really solid. Always +1 to hit is always good. And then we have the confirmation of what psychic weapons do, which kind of people seem to know already, but they ignore all modifiers to ballistic skill and weapon skill, and any other modifiers to the hit roll, and that's a can, so you don't have to. Attacks made with psychic weapons are known as psychic attacks, so will still trigger other rules. It doesn't ignore wound modifiers and things like that a lot of people were kind of claiming was the case. Again, all of these are 1 detachment point. They've confirmed that Wartbane Task Force will be 2 detachment points, so that it can link with these, so that adds a bit of kind of flexibility there of what you can do, as well as Hallowed Conclave being able to work with Argent Assault, so that's another one that will be the 2CP, and then Sanctic Spearhead will also work with this, so yeah, lots of options. They even mention obviously the T13 Great Unclean one still being very durable, and tomorrow we have one of my favourite factions, Drakari, so I'm looking forward to seeing what comes up with those guys. But yeah, we'll see you again tomorrow, or today, because it's after midnight here. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm trying to keep these short and sweet just to make the content a little bit quicker to digest. But yeah, comment and let me know what you think, if there's any changes, any way that you would like to see these done differently, anything you're hoping to see for your faction, anything you're hoping to see rules wise, changes wise. Are you going to watch the 3 live streams on the 25th that start from 3 o'clock in the UK, which will probably be the best way to kind of get an idea of how the rules function in the game, with a variety of different kind of player level. From you've got 2 of the GW people that have been showcasing playing the 2 boxes, the box against itself, so Orcs versus Space Marines, and then you've got Play on Tabletop, and then you've got Liam VSL and Richard Ziegler playing kind of a rematch of one of their games from World Championships. So should be a really interesting kind of way to kind of find out a bit more, or watch after, digest, try and scribble down as many rules as you can. I don't know how accurate reflection it will be of points, whether they'll be using updated points, but it does kind of indicate that 11th is coming very, very soon. And then, as was kind of accidentally leaked by a shop, it's going to be released on the 20th of June. If you're really interested in playing at a GT, I'm hosting one in Kent in the UK. You can go to the Voidstorm Games website and grab a ticket. It is only £35 until the end of this month. It then only goes up to 40, so still really reasonably cheap for a GT, where it will be 11th edition, all new terrain. I've kind of almost all sorted. The machines are finally quiet behind me. So yeah, it's going to be a really